There it is.
Okay, so we are good to go. Hi, everybody. I'm Colleen Takis. I'm the media coordinator now, and I would like to introduce Rachel Anderson, who is doing quite a few different um, classes at the convention this year. So, Rachel, I will kind of let you start with who you are,
Mhm.
who your family is, like what made you start homeschooling, kind of all that fun stuff.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Rachel Anderson. My husband's name is Steve Anderson. We have been married, and this is going to show my age, but we have been married for 29 years this year.
Woohoo!
I know, it's exciting. I have 4 kids that I've homeschooled all the way through. I have graduated 3 of them so far. I'm still homeschooling the one, but that makes a total of homeschooling years. I think I'm at 19. I was trying to calculate that earlier, but 19 years. I'm like, how is that possible?
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say a lot of years.
it sure is. How did I get into it? One of the questions you had asked me previously, Colleen, is um, kind of like why I decided to homeschool. And I don't know if people coming to your convention, some of them are probably feeling it out, right? Is this something I really,
Yep.
really want to do? That was kind of a quick, easy, but hard decision for me to make. It was easy in the sense that I recognized quickly, I did not like what the schools were impressing on the kids. It's worse now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's gotten worse, but
I think you're right. But I didn't like that. But second of all, and this was probably the biggest motivator for me, is I feel like as the mom, and my husband too, as the dad, our ultimate goal is to have a spiritual education. And so I wanted to kind of have a control of what was being fed to my kids. So we decided, and I know not everybody feels this way, but we decided we really wanted to have a curriculum all the way through that had more of a biblical worldview attached to it. So that's kind of why I started. There's so many reasons to start, but those were the ones that I embraced.
well, yeah, I was gonna say it kind of I think it's different for everybody and what you want and what you can get out of homeschooling. You can go, like you said, very biblical and it be a part of your whole curriculum. It can be just one class, it can be not at all. I mean, there are definitely curriculums that we don't use, and like me personally, we don't use a biblical curriculum at all, but being able to go through and know what they're learning means I can then skew what we believe in there
Right.
versus somebody else teacher wise or school wise belief that to me makes a big difference because
Yes.
obviously we've been lucky our school district is mostly Christian, so there haven't been this major, you know what I mean, butting of the heads with that, but Illinois in general has now adopted a lot of things that the teachers don't have any control over. That is the whole state. You have to teach it or you're not going to teach. Well,
Mhm.
that doesn't really work for me. And I think that
Right.
is the way a lot of parents are going now because homeschooling is becoming so huge. And I think that's a lot of the reason is they want more control over what is being taught or how it's being taught, how it's being explained. So, nope, I think that is a pretty good.
One more thing with that too is whether it's spiritual led or not. One thing that we did, and I'll share with you just a little bit. Two of my 4 children, 2 of them have learning disabilities, and you'll hear more about that in just a minute. But with that being said, I could, and I did fine tune the direction for each child individually. My oldest is an extremely strong learner. I mean, really strong learner. So I fine tuned his curriculum based on his needs, which meant that there were several grades we taught advanced
Yep.
information. Whereas my next one, who was very big struggles in his learning, I could fine tune that, meet his needs. When he got into high school, my older son wanted to go into nursing. So we gave him Latin classes, right, to learn the Latin language. We gave
Yep.
him things like that. One of my sons was thinking about going into dental hygienist. I'm not sure how you say it. Anyway, so he took classes in that. Whereas my other son, the struggling learner, he was thinking about hands-on. So we gave him some trade work. So you can really create that homeschool pathway based on individual students that's, you may not have that opportunity in the school systems.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what I really noticed is, okay, my second one is she's now in 6th, but in school, she did really great. I mean, school was not a problem, but when she would come home, I mean, we're talking kindergarten, 1st and 2nd, because that's all she went to school. She'd come home and I mean, she was a maniac. I mean, she wouldn't listen, she was temper tantrums, you know what I mean? Because that 8 hours of school, she was perfect. She was quiet, she would listen, you know what I mean? And then she'd come home
Yeah.
and just explode. And I'm like, okay, something has to change because mom can only handle so much. Like, this is my nerves are going. Yeah.
Either.
So that was the big thing that I found is, like you said, we can tailor. So I
Mhm.
can let her get up and run around for 10, 15 minutes every hour. And then she goes back and focuses and we get things done. And like she actually did 3rd and 4th grade all in 1 year because
Wow,
I
that's
didn't want to
amazing.
skip her, but I wanted, like you said, I wanted to keep going according to her. She just kept doing the work. So we kept moving right along.
Mhm.
And so she is now 11 years old and in 6th grade. So yeah, which she thinks is great because now she's ahead of most of her friends in school. And, but I'm like, okay, well, maturity level still needs to catch up a little, but we're getting there.
That's right. That's right.
But yes, I do agree. You can tailor it so much more to each
Mhm.
specific kid's needs instead of it being, oh, well, you're really high in math, but that other kid in the class is so low and needs all this extra help that you spend 3 times more time on one math thing. Cause like my son, he
Mhm.
flew through math because he was good at it. But
Mhm.
in school, they had to keep waiting and you know what I mean, catching
Right.
everybody up. Well, that put him he was bored, you know what I mean? And that's not
Yeah.
his fault, and it's not really any of the other kids' fault. It's just the way the school
Right.
system works, and that's not necessarily
Exactly.
helpful for one person versus another. So, okay, so why do you teach or share your knowledge? Like what got you into doing the
Yes.
conventions and stuff?
So it is a fascinating story, and I will make it very short. I mean, I can go on for an hour on why I do conventions, but I think the biggest piece was, I told you about my son who has learning struggles. When he was first diagnosed, I knew something was wrong. As a mom, you kind of know.
Yep.
And it was kindergarten, it was 1st grade. I was going to teachers, I was asking for advice, and everybody's like, oh, he'll be fine. Oh, he'll be fine. And 3rd grade, this kiddo is still not reading. I'm like, this is not fine, right? This is not right. Something's going on. So, got a little bit of support, say, oh, it's probably this, but that was it. It's okay. Great. You give me a word. Um, I felt very alone. As a homeschooling mom, I really did feel very alone. I felt, what were my resources?
Uh-huh.
I really did not feel a lot of support. And not that to anybody's fault. It was just I felt like very alone. Um,
Well, finding
I
that
am a go
network is hard.
right, right. And so I am a go-getter. And so I was like, okay, if we think this is what it is, then let me dive into it. And so I studied, I researched, I attended workshops, seminars, all kinds of things. We ended up later on having him diagnosed. He has a pretty severe version of dyslexia, ADHD, working memory deficiency, dyscalculia, you name it. There's a litany of things that he had going on. Um, but here's what happened. And through all of my studies, I learned how to work with him, right? Well, I was also working for this math program that I'm also representing at your convention. And at these conventions, where as I was representing a math program, people would come up to me and I'd see these moms with the same look I had, like on the verge of there's something going on, but I don't know what it is. And I would
Right.
ask some questions. And next thing you know, we bonded. I give the mom or whomever it was a couple suggestions, recommendations, and you would see this like, oh, you get it. Right. And they may not necessarily say that, but all of a sudden you can see this peace coming over them. And
Yep.
I loved that ability to be able to calm somebody else. Nobody was there to calm me, but I love to be able to calm that person. So that really inspired me to learn more about a variety of other learning disabilities to the point that I went back to school and earned my master's in special education because I wanted to be able to give good advice,
Right.
workable advice to parents regardless of what their child's learning struggles are. And so that was really my main purpose. And that is why I love going to homeschool conventions, why I love to speak to families, because I know what it's like to be sitting in that chair thinking, what can I do? Or what am I doing wrong?
Right.
And it's not necessarily they're doing anything wrong, but just a few tweaks will all of a sudden open up their mind to other methods, other strategies they can use that will be an effective teaching strategy to help their
Well,
student
and
learn.
more just that there's somebody out there that does
Yeah.
understand, that has gone through it, that is, I am not the only one in the world that this is happening to, because
Right.
I think as moms in general, we tend to feel that way because especially
Mhm.
homeschools, you're in their house, you're with your kids 24/7, and then
Mm.
we have different groups now, and there is a lot more platform than
Mhm.
probably when you started,
Right.
because Facebook groups, you know what I mean? But like I have a recess group that I do, and it's purely socialization. Like we play games, the kids hang out and play, that's it. But it also gives moms, everybody has to stay. So all the moms get to talk, you know what I mean? And say, okay, this is working, this is not, this is what I'm using, this is not, you know what I mean? Where a long time ago, especially, that was not the case because Facebook wasn't even a part of
Ah, yeah.
homeschooling in general.
Right.
But I mean, I think the closed offness, and
Yeah.
I think it still happens for a lot of people, because if you don't know which group or how to get a hold of those groups,
Right.
then you're still in that same boat, whether you have Facebook or not. Because I've tried 2 or 3 groups that didn't really give me anything, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
them, but there's not really any communication, there's just a bunch of posts and nobody's really personable where you
Right.
feel like you want to discuss what's going on with your children.
Uh-huh.
So, like I said, that was kinda why I agreed to do this and do the Zooms, because last year was my first convention, and I have a friend who was on the committee, so she kind of walked me through, like, "Okay, this is what this is about, this is what," you know what I mean? But I went in pretty blind, and I'm glad I went, and obviously
Right.
I'm now a part of it, so, like, I believe in it now, but you know what I mean? I think a lot of people are very cautious because they're like, "Well, I don't wanna go spend money to sit through a lecture that isn't gonna get me anything."
Right.
So, that's kinda why I brought up, why do you want to do, you like, why is this a big thing for
Mhm.
you? Because I think that's important. Because, like you said, that personal connection makes a
Yeah.
big difference.
It
And,
sure
like,
does.
last year, mine was for my oldest, which is a freshman in high school, and I went to all the classes about high school, and she actually, I mean, like, I went up and talked to her, she was very personable, she sat there and answered my questions, and I'm
Uh,
sure a lot of them are very repetitive for her because you know what I mean? But she didn't act like she was bothered, she didn't act like I was being, you know what I mean, just out in la la land, because really, that's where I felt I was at, like, I was in la la land. But so I'm glad that you enjoy it so much, because it definitely comes across, and I know people pick that up, and that makes
mhm.
it a whole lot easier to reach out, especially when you feel like you
Yes.
are alone. So
Yes.
the next thing is your classes offered. Did I send you that, or I can read it?
Yes, you did. The first one I'm doing is Friday at 1 o'clock,
Okay.
and it's called Successfully Homeschool Your Child with Special Needs and Learning Struggles, tying into exactly my passion. I think this is one of my favorite ones that I give, and part of it is because I think parents don't understand, moms, dads, whoever is doing the teaching, they don't understand the freedom that you have to tailor. Um, and it starts with the parent confidence. When I was teaching my struggling learners, I thought, what do I know? I mean, these teachers out there in the school districts, they've been educated to deal with students who have learning disabilities. And here I am. I've never studied it at that point. I hadn't. And
Right.
am I doing a good enough job? And I think that's the biggest question and the thing I see in people's eyes is, am I doing enough? And I think it's a common thing for moms, right?
Well, yeah, you don't
Like,
wanna screw up your kid. That's the
I
big deal. You
know.
don't wanna screw up your kid.
We don't. But I love to be able to help parents, moms, whomever is doing the teaching. I love helping them recognize that, yes, not only can they homeschool, they pretty much should homeschool. And that's what this workshop is about. I will talk about how some of the insecurities that we have as parents of children with either special needs or just they struggle in learning a subject, right? So our own insecurities, what are we doing wrong? What happened on that? But also to let them know what's going on in the schools. It's not the grass is greener.
Right.
To help them recognize that the things that are going there, the teachers are strapped. They are required to do certain things, required to go through so many processes that their students are actually being hindered. It's not meant to be, it's just how it is.
Right.
And I love in the end of this, towards the end, middle and end of this workshop, I express to the parent the freedom they have. They are not bound to the red tape that schools are bound to. They are not bound to having to teach their child, their third grade child, third grade content when they are in fourth grade or when they can do fourth grade or
Right.
they are still in second grade reading, right? They are not bound to those same hardcore elements that the school is binding their students to. So we can flex with our kids. We can help them learn to their speed, not their neighbor's speed, not their peers' speed, right?
Right.
Their speed. And so that's why I really like this because I love seeing the of the audience like, okay, not only can I do this, but now you've taken this load off
Right.
and I have a strategy to move forward. So
Okay.
that's the first workshop. The second workshop I'm giving is Friday. It's at 3 o'clock and it's called Learning Challenges in Math, Challenge No More. And a lot of moms especially get nervous when teaching math classes, right? Um, it's funny to me, I happen to love math.
See, I hate
But
math. Math is not my thing. Like, and my kids laugh because I've obviously been teaching them for the last 3 years and they're doing really well, but I am still not a math person. So,
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I see. It's either this, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I do what I must do, right? Or it's like you see the big eyes. I'm afraid of the math. It's scary for them. So in this workshop, it'll basically provide strategies. It'll provide elements to math. One, so you can see the beauty in math. Yeah, math is beautiful. Math is actually can be fun.
oh yes,
You're like,
my kids love it. I have just never, and truthfully, that's what I tell because I have a lot of people like at our church that have asked me about homeschooling because I homeschool. And I said, literally up until third or fourth grade, that is the simple part. Like you know it, they know it. This is all stuff you teach your. But I said, honestly, I've just gone back and relearned math along with the kids. Like I do the
yeah.
lesson with them, so I know what I'm talking about when I'm trying to tell them, what's going on. I said, because math is not my strong suit. Most of the rest of them I am really good at, but no, like my son loves math and he's in geometry this year. And this is the first year that it has not just clicked for him.
Oh, yeah.
But from what I've
Geometry.
heard, geometry is totally different than none of it ever clicked for me. So like I'm just like, yeah, it doesn't click, period. But for him, that's what I keep telling him. It's a different style. You'll go back to algebra 2 next year and you'll be fine. Like
Right.
everything will pop back into place for you.
Right. Well, I think part of it is, especially for the younger kids, math is abstract
Uh-huh.
and their minds have a really hard time wrapping around the idea of abstract ideas, right? I mean, in fact, numbers, those symbols, what are they? They actually represent quantities, but so what what I'm going to do in this workshop is to kind of help parents recognize that they can approach math in a variety of ways, but mostly is getting that abstract element into a concrete mold for them. When you teach kids to understand math, they don't have to memorize as much because I don't know about you, but math is pretty much all about memorization when I was growing up.
Yeah, and
And for
I don't
me,
think that's right.
well, it's not because, well, I was a good memorizer, hence I loved math. But I had a boy next to me in my class, and I remember looking over, and he could not memorize. And actually,
Yep.
this is one reason why I love this workshop is children with learning disabilities and learning struggles a lot of times cannot memorize. Well, what do you do with those kids? If you cannot memorize, how do you learn math? If
Right.
your premise for learning math is all about memorization. So this workshop is going to branch out and let you kind of open up your minds to think about how to teach math differently to not only embrace the enjoyment of math, I know, but the enjoyment of math, but also to remove some of that memorization burden that we place
Right.
on our kids.
Because yeah, I was gonna say they did that with both of mine, and like
Mhm.
I said, my son is really good at it and he can memorize it. But my daughter, like you can see the way her brain works, and
Yeah.
hers is every step she goes through every step. So if it's 3 + 2 = 5, she doesn't just go, "Oh, well, you know what I mean, and that's 5." She literally you can watch her eyeballs, you know what I mean, say 3
Yes.
+ 2 = 5, and she's got the answer, but they wanted it faster than that at school, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, if you know how to get the answer, that takes a whole lot." Because I said, "No offense, when you're
Yes.
70, memorizing it, you're not gonna remember it. When
Right.
if you know how to do it, then at 70, you will still be able to do math."
Very good. You're my favorite mom today. Good job. I do have one other workshop I'm doing. I was looking over here. The other one I'm offering is Saturday at 3 o'clock, and it's called Homeschooling Children with Different Learning Styles. I have 4 kids. I told you that before. Everyone is totally different. Not only are they different, and anybody who has more than one child knows your kids are different, right? But my kids and probably many of your guys's, they learn different. So I pick a curriculum and I purchase this curriculum and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to use this for all of my kids. And come to find out, it's like, okay, it works for number 1, 3, and 4, but number 2, it just didn't work for, right? And so I think what I'm going to show in that particular workshop is how to take your curriculum and how to use multisensory elements, because one might be a really strong visual, one good memorizer, one, but they don't listen very well, or they don't pay attention to details, right? Whatever it is. And so I'm going to share some different learning styles, some characteristics, and then how to incorporate multisensory learning in every single subject. So I'm going to talk about spelling, and I'm going to give some suggestions on some spelling curriculum that naturally incorporate multisensory elements in the curriculum, so you don't have to create it. But if you really like your
Uh-huh.
curriculum, then here are some other ideas that you can incorporate, add to the curriculum they're using to kind of broaden that element to help open up their minds, not just having sit down at your desk and fill in this worksheet, sit down at your desk and fill in this worksheet, sit at your desk, fill in this worksheet.
Yep.
Open it up so there's more engagement in the learning, and it's fun. It makes homeschooling so much more fun for students, with a little bit more work from mom at first. Once we get it going, it's like, oh, I can do this. But it's that first, like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, right?
Well, that's
So
what I always tell people. I've said it may take you as the parent a little more back in time, but I said the kids don't, and I said they'll go so much further if you do the
yes,
back end work. I
yes.
said, but well, like spelling. You brought up spelling. Okay, that is another one. I can't spell to save my life. Like spell check is my best friend, and my son is the exact same way. Well, we still do spelling tests, but my daughter can sit there and she is really good with spelling. Like she can memorize. I don't know whether it's memorization that she uses or exactly what, but she can do the spelling test with no problem. My son, we had to revamp, like you said, how
Mhm.
he did it because memorization wasn't working for him, because he could memorize them for a week, but next week you'd ask him this, and yeah, it was gone. Like he goes, "Well, I got that spelling word right on the last." Okay, but you're supposed to be able to learn, like you're using them. That's the whole key of this spelling.
Right.
So like he spells the way I do, like the whole sounding out the word. I've
Mhm.
never understood how that made any sense in the English language, because most of it you can't sound out. It doesn't sound, you know what I mean? It's not spelled the way it
Right.
sounds. So I said, okay, so look at the word and break it into
Segments.
syllables that you can, you know what I mean? I said, it doesn't matter if you pronounce it right. For the spelling purpose, but I said, like Friends, I screwed up Friends for years. Fry ends. So that's how I remember Friends, is fry ends. And he's like, "Oh, well, that makes better sense." I was like, "Yeah, well,
Mhm.
now he's doing spelling and we're getting spelling tests correct." And you know what I mean?
Good
Which
job.
helps their self-esteem, you know
Confidence,
what I mean?
right?
Let alone helping your self-esteem that you're figuring out how to make your kid learn better. And you know what I mean? Everybody is happier in the end of the day,
That's right. That's right.
which is really the goal. I mean, the idea is that they learn, they're happier, you know what I mean? And obviously, if you're happier, you're healthier. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But no, I appreciate that because it took me a little while to figure out, again, when I started homeschooling, that you don't have to do, you know what I mean? Exactly, especially ours coming from
Yes.
school, we kind of followed the school curriculum and exactly, and yeah, we've kind of pushed away from that a little more. Like we still run
Yeah.
a lot of the same different, same things differently, but it's not quite so structured as I was
Right.
like the first year. And just knowing that, yeah, I'm okay. My kids are okay. We're all on, the right track. I am
Right.
not screwing them up. I am not, they're not way behind or something like that. Cause I know those were all my big questions is I don't want to make
Mhm.
them behind. I don't want to screw them up. I don't want them,
Oh, for
if they
sure.
choose to go back, that they're not where they should be or that they're so far ahead. You know what I mean? I don't want to put too
Mhm.
much on them either. So I appreciate
Yeah, no.
everybody that helped me along the way and stuff that I figured out. So let's see here. The last thing was any tidbit motto that you like or use.
So, first of all, my email is Rachel Homeschooling Champion. I promote homeschooling. I've seen in my studies, I've seen what goes on in the schools. And even though we think, like I said before, the grass might be greener over there, for many, it's not. So I would love to infuse parents to know that they can do it and that there is great freedom in it. Like you were saying, you're not locked into a textbook. Yeah, you can start with a textbook,
Right.
perfectly fine, but you can throw in other elements. You can throw in depth. You can go on field trips. You can do all kinds of things. There is so much flexibility that homeschooling parents have that the schools simply just do not. So I love to tell parents, embrace your freedom. Embrace your freedom. We have it now, so embrace it. Pour yourself into your kids. Let them shine. Let them soar. Give them what they need so that they become the children and adults that they are designed to be, right? So that's
Right.
what I love to send parents off with.
Okay. Well, I
Mhm.
really appreciate the
Mhm.
patience from me getting on late and everything because like I said, my life is crazy too. And I know that even though like I babysit, so I have a semi job as well as homeschooling, but that's the other thing is you can do it around it. Like my kids
Sure.
do school during nap time most of the time,
Yep.
or they do it first thing in the morning and then they come out of their rooms and help me with the kids and play. You know what I mean? I think that's the one thing they really enjoy. And because they're like 8 hours, no, I don't want to go back to 8 hours sitting in a desk. And you know what I mean? Like I said, yeah, that's because they don't honestly, they don't get up till 9:30. They are not
Yep.
early birds. So we don't get up and moving till like 9:30. And then everything starts. And yeah, like you said, field trips, that is their biggest thing. They love to go on field trips. Like, and I like taking them because if they were in school, most of the time, you know what I mean, you have a parent that goes along or whatever, but most of the time all the parents don't go. You can't be that parent every time.
Right.
So you're not enjoying or learning with them and helping them understand where if you go with a homeschool group or you're there, you get to explain, you're the one
Yep.
who's, you know what I mean, and you learn right along with them. So if they come home and ask questions, you're like, what are you talking about? No, you were there, you know exactly what they were talking about. So
Right.
well, I appreciate you and thank you. We will
Thanks.
see you at the convention.
Looking forward to it. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.